Hey, so let's go ahead and move into Eclipse and let's start coding. So the first thing I want to do is actually create a new file. So I'll move down to this web content directory and I'll create a new file. So I'll say new file. And for the actual file name, I'll choose cookies personalized form.html. This will be our HTML form for personalizing the website. And once we're happy with that name, we'll go ahead and click finish. All right, so in this file, I'll go ahead and just write out my basic HTML header information and my HTML body. For the header, I'll just go ahead and set up a title real quick, personalize the site. And that's my basic housekeeping. Now I'll actually go through and build out the form. So I'll set up my form. I'll set action equals to cookies, personalize, response.jsp. And so now I'll just kind of build out my form. First off, I'll prompt the user, hey, select your favorite programming language, and I'll set up a drop-down list or a select item. So we've seen this before. So I set the name equals favorite language, and then I just drop in those languages, Java, C#, PHP, and Ruby. And again, we've seen all this before. Now, one more thing I need to do with this form is set up my submit button. So I'll move down here. I'll say input type equals submit, and then value equals submit. And that's basically it here for our form, just prompting the user for their favorite programming language, and then having our submit button. All right, so we can go ahead and save that file, and let's just do a quick test on it just to make sure it works out. So I'll just choose this cookies personalized form.html, and I'll just say run on server. And this looks pretty good. So great. So there's our prompt, there's our drop-down list and our submit button. So this part looks okay so far. So moving ahead to step 2, I need to create another new file. This file is going to be our response page. So I'll call it cookies personalized response.jsp. And once I'm happy with that name, I'll go ahead and click on the finish button. All right. So this JSP basically is going to read the form data and then also create cookies or set cookies and pass them back to the browser. So again, let me go ahead and do my basic housekeeping here for the HTML. And now I'm going to set up a scriptlet with my angle bracket %. The first thing I need to do is read the form data. So I'm going to read that form field favorite language that we had in the previous file. Now that I have that actual favorite language, now what I'm going to do is create a cookie. So I'll say the cookie equals new cookie, and I give that name value pair. So name of my app.favorite language, and then the value is favlane. So now that I have the cookie created, next I need to actually set the lifespan on the cookie. So I'll say the cookie.setMaxAge, and this is the ugly part again. Remember, you have to give the total number of seconds. And so I did the math, and that's the total number of seconds for 1 year. Once we have that taken care of, then we simply need to send the cookie to the browser. And we do that by doing a response.add cookie and then giving a reference to that cookie object. And that's basically it for this step 2 of reading the form data and then setting the cookie. So now what we want to do is go through and just put our body in here. So this body is just mainly just a confirmation, just to echo whatever the user entered. So here I'll say, hey, thanks. We set your favorite language to, and then we just drop in that parameter information. So I use the $param, favorite language. And then at the bottom, I'm going to set up a link back to the home page. So I'll say set up an href, and I'll say return to home page. So that way they can, make it back to the home page and then, see their new customized content. So this part's all laid out for this response page. And so I think this pretty much covers everything for step 2. All right, so let's go ahead and take care of step 3. So let's go ahead and create a new file again. And the name of this file is cookieshomepage.jsp. So this is our main JSP page that's going to display the personalized content. All right, once we have that file name entered, go ahead and click the Finish button. I'll kind of expand my window here for a second. So again, normal housekeeping for the HTML. So basically here I'll set up a header, training portal. And now I want to first off read the favorite programming language cookie. So I'll drop in a little scriptlet code here. First off, I'll set up a default. So if there are no cookies, the favorite language is just going to default to Java. Then next, I'm actually going to get the cookies from that request object. So remember, it's going to return an array. So I'll say cookie with the square brackets for an array equals request.getCookies. So next, I simply need to just loop through and find our favorite language cookie. So here I check to make sure that cookies is not equal to null. And then I set up a for loop. So I have for cookie temp cookie colon cookies. And now I basically just want to check the name of each cookie to see if they're equal to our favorite language. So equals tempcookie.getName. If that's true, then we can get the actual value of that cookie. That's our favorite language. So favlang equals tempcookie.getValue and then break. And I actually have a typo here. Cookies is incorrect. This should actually be the cookies because that's the array of cookies that we received from the previous line. So good, I fixed that typo. Whew, good job. All right, so this looks good so far. So we can save this file. And this part of it basically handles reading that favorite language cookie. All right, so now that I have the cookie, I know the actual value of the favorite language. Now what I can do down in this body here is I can actually show a personalized page based on this information. So that favlang, that's the variable that we received a little higher up there on line 20. So I'm just going to set up some little sections here for this. So for example, showing new books for this language. So I'll say, hey, new books for language X. And so I'll just drop in an expression here, angle bracket % with an equal symbol, favlang. And then I'll just set up a UL for unordered list. And I'll just put in some placeholders here, blah, blah, blah. Just placeholders. No real stuff there. Ideally, we could maybe talk to a database, query a database, get a list of books for this given topic, and then print those out. But, you know, for now, we'll just put in the little placeholders here. We simply want to focus on cookies for right now. So now what I'll do is I'll actually take this information. I'll just kind of do a copy paste on it, and I'll just drop it in here. So this is for latest news reports for the favorite language. And then a similar thing here, another copy paste, and I'll just drop in hot jobs for favorite language and blah, blah, blah. And that's pretty much it. So we have a customized page based on that cookie value, and we're showing it to the user. So this looks pretty good so far. And then one last thing I want to do is I simply want to give them a link where they can personalize this page again. So say, for example, they wanted to change the language to like PHP or Ruby or C#. They can easily do that with this href link. All right, so I can go ahead and save this file. And I can move over. And now we should have 3 files right now. So we should have our cookies homepage, our personalized form, and also our personalized response. So let's go ahead and run the home page right now. So I'll simply do a right click and I'll choose run as and then run on server. And so this will bring it up in the internal browser. I want to just copy this URL. I want to drop it into the Firefox browser. So I'll say copy. And I'll move over to Firefox. I'll drop that in. And so here's the actual page. So training portal. And then by default, we're just showing Java because no cookies are set at this time. I can go ahead and click the link to personalize the page, and I can go through and choose one of the languages here. And in this example, I'm going to choose PHP as the language. And then I'll go ahead and hit the submit button. Okay, great. So it says, hey, thanks. We set your favorite language to PHP. So behind the scenes, they created the cookie and they passed it back to the browser. Now I can go ahead and click on this return to home page link. And now note our customized page right now. So new books for PHP, reports, hot jobs, so on. So our cookies portion of it is working out just fine for us. And this is kind of cool. But you may want to actually verify that the cookies are actually being set. So in the Firefox browser, you can just click on this option here to the far right, move down and choose Preferences. And over on the far left, there's a little menu item here called Privacy. You can select that option. And again, remember, here in the center, remove individual cookies. That's the link that will actually show us all of the cookies. And here are the cookies that are set for our site localhost. And we can kind of expand this a bit and we'll see that there are two cookies set, JSessionID and this myapp.favoritelanguage. So I'll select that guy. So that's the cookie name. That's what we created in our code. And that's the content. That's what the user just selected here in that last demo. So this all looks really good. This is kind of how we designed it and how we actually implemented our code. So I would say congrats on doing cookies in JSP.